Finished the keta before, he's mevayer that there is two pchinas in the Eir Shalifnetzim Befen Klali. There's the Eir HaKol of Atzmas Hamar Mamish, and there's the Eir which is we also call it Eir HaKol. But in the Eifen HaMetzias, there's a chiluk between the Eir and the Etzem. The Etzem is Hachodesh. The Etzem has no yachas at all, has no shaykhis to Eilumis. That's the Ato, which is Atzim Samar Shein L'Tchila Vein L'Tichla. It's Kodesh Muflo Mitzad Atzmei. And the Eir is that the Kedusha V'Lukus is Meir and is Nirgash Neilumis. So B'Shas the Eir is Meir and Nirgash Neilumis. So since it's from his Eir V'Gilui, so there's some type of Yachas to Eilumis. That in Vos B'Shteit, that he's in Vos B'Shteit, his Kedusha, that Atzilus V'Asiyah B'Shaveh. In Eir, the fact, the Nekud of Eir is that the Pshitis of Elokus is Meir, is Nirgash Neilumis. If it's Meir and Eilumis, so what's the Hergish Lapoil that Atzilus V'Asiyah B'Shaveh? Mashiach, the way the Kedushas Atzmos, the way it is Be'etzim, as no, the whole Musik of Zulas doesn't begin. The whole Musik of Eilumis doesn't begin. There it's Kodesh and Muvdom Tzad Atzmei. That was Masber in the Keta before. But then he says at the end, so you have the Chlal Lifnetzim of the Eir is considered the Kol B'Amar. But in what sense he says there's Eir and there's Etzem? Eir is the Spashtus, and the fact that the Indian comes b'murgish, in a way that it's Nirgash and Metzias, that there is the Achtus of Elokus, or the Kedusha of Elokus, and then there is the Inyan in the way they are Be'etzem. Only you say that the bittul of the Eir, the Eir Shalifnat Simtsum, the Hergesh Eir is the fact that it exists is it's not because Eir is an Inyan, not because Gili is a Mile, not because Gili is a Shlemus, but because the Eibusher is not Mugdar. That's why there's Inyan Eir. Not that without Gili he would be lacking a certain Shlemus. La'achar Simtsum is Nergesh that Gili expresses a certain Mile, a certain Ili. Lifnat Simtsum, it's Meir the Emes, the Kameshu who is that Atzmos, Mitzad Atzmei is moved from everything. And Gilui is not an Inyan L'Gavi. The fact that there is the Inyan of Eir, that's because there's no Agdaris in Elokus. Davish is Yachol. Yachol means that he is not here. You can't define him in anything. If you can't define him, so if there's a Ratzin to he should be mispashit, Avadi has a spashtus too. But not the fact that he's by the Niver, by the Marshal. The fact that the Nevesh has the Inyan is because there's certain mile in there, certain mile in Gili. Mashik and the mile we say that Lifnat Simpson the Hergish is that's Mitzad Yechelis Atzmos. B'meil it's Hoy Hu Shmei Bavad. Yeah, that's. But then he brings the word in the Shalah. But the stuff goes up even after you say that the Eir is Lifnat Simpson is but the Tachlis of the Meir. But Lepel there's the Etzem and there's there two different ways of being. At the Ato Kodesh, the Kedushas Atzmos says that he's Muftul Be'etzem. Not the way it's Murgish, the way it's Meir and Eilumis, the way it's Murgish Be'etzem. And then there's Shimcha Kodesh, the way the Kedushas Atzmos is Meir and Nirgash and Eilumis. If it's Meir and Eilumis, if it's Begilui, so Gili has a certain property of Gili. It's a different type of Metzias than the Metzias of Etzem. And the Inyan of Gili, Saf Kosav, gives some sub-type of Yachas to the Mokim where it's being Mizgalit. It's Gili V'Espashtas. So the Noch Zakta that there is the Eir, this is the way we finished off in the last paragraph, Mashikosav Hu Shmei Echad, is Shmei means the Eir, the way it's Miyuchid Mamish of Chinas Atzmos. It's one with Atzmos. And it's one Achdus. It's B'hainik She'er Kol B'mar, the Oz Hu Shmei Echad. What does it mean Hu Shmei Echad? Zer Shtevis Hu Shmei Echad. Ki Oz HaKel B'chinas Hu Levad. Shleish Ida V'Klagam Le B'chinas Eir. Till now, speaking about there's a Metzias of Eir. There's the Inyan of Gili. But then the Ufta of Gili is that since Eir Mein Amar, so it's the Etzem being this Gali in the Gili. But there's a Metzias of Gili. There's a being in a way of Etzem, which is beyond Mitzvahs, and there's being in a way of Gili, which that's expression, which that's Hergish. The Uftu is usually when there's a Makar being Nizgali in Gili, so the Makar is the Fi'erach, the Mitzvahs of Gili. Mashiach, the Uftu of Eremein Amar is that the Etzem Kamesh Hu is also Begili. There's not that there's the amount that suits Gili, that's what's Begili. The Etzem Kamesh Hu is also Mizgali. But the Pel is two different modes. There's the Inni, the way it is Be'etzim, and there's the Inni, the way it is Begili. But shaking the Darga, we're speaking about Eira Kol Ba'atzmos Hamar Mamish, is that there is no other Metzias. There is no Gili outside of Atzmos. It's Atzhu. Hakil P'chinas Hu Levad. Not only in respect to the Bidl. Pashat, there's within Etzim there's Gili. That's the best way to get animated. So what's the pshat? If it's means Gili. Gili means that there's this Inni of Espashtas. What does it mean that there's a Hu Levad? and there's the Shaleish Eidavar Klal. So then it's there's only Atzmas. What's the pshat that there's Leish Eidavar Klal, but there's Hu Shmei Echad, Hu Shmei Shmei Hu. Then there's no name. There's only him. What's the pshat? Let's get ready. Lohavin says Ma'at Mizer. Given a because of a part the Shar said that that's for Dalit Shikshal in his first signals Batzila. It's brought in Kisve Arizal that there's Esrei Spheres, the way they are Gonus, the way they are Nelam in the Matzel, in Ein Sof. Yeah, so there's Esrei Spheres, the way they are Kolul, or the way they are hidden in Ein Sof. So the Shaila is, so Negad HaKlal, She'ein Sof Pasha B'Talas HaPshitas. That's the Shaila. Kim Hoyu HaSpheres B'Teich Ein Sof, any Pasha, if you say that Ein Sof is a Zaman Sarzach, that he expresses himself through Spheres, the most edel way you're going to say it, if you're going to say that Ein Sof is something that the Spheres are certain matters. Chachma, Bina, Das, they're certain shleimus. Chachma is a mile, Midas is a mile. So if you say that Ein Sof, Spheres are as Asar Zach, which could express Ein Sof, that means that he's not Tachas Ein Sof. Tachas Ein Sof is that Legabi him, that Tzir doesn't express him at all. She's on Neged HaKlal, She'ein Sof Pasha B'Talas HaPshitas. Kim Hoya Spheres B'Teich Ein Sof, any Pasha. That's correct. If there's any shaykhs to tzir, if Ein Sof is any shaykhs to tzir, so it's not a mitzvah Ein Sof. Ein Sof means it's Pasha B'Talas HaPshitas. There is no shaykhs that need of tzir v'gvul. So Darton Zokter Amashal Azeh. What's the pshat? That there's Esses for Sagnuzis in Ein Sof Zokter Azeh. Tireit Shua Derech Mashal Even Achalamish. Means the guy should become the mashal. You have an Even Achalamish. Yitzim Ben Aisha the Kos Habarzalei. Yeah. So Azeh, there's no. You have a kol. So coal, there's a shalheves, there's a pashet heat, there's fire in the gachelis. The even achalamish is no fire, but you're able to be mitzi eish through a karsa barzalei. So there's it. Shliyistak lemer sheisha hu the eish that you're later mitzi through a karsa barzel ha yomamish b'teicha even. It's not trying to say there was a mitzias of fire in the stone. Ela eisha hu nel la b'teicha even. So behalten. What is behalten? It means to say that it's within the stone itself. Means there's only a stone. No, you're not going to say there's a metzias of fire there. You have a gachelis, you have the stone, and you have the element of fire that's there. You have a lav. Mashiach have the tzur chalamish is a stone. There's no fire. So the stone can be sitting in water for 1,000 years. It's a stone. But one of the tchunas of this stone is you're able to emetzi fire from it. So there's no metzias of fire detached from the stone. There's only a stone there. It's a tchuna of the stone. The Mitzvah of Eish was there. It means it's within the stone. It's not trying to say by Gechelis nicht by Gechelis, so the Pelenim can up to him. There's the Evan aspect and there's the Eish aspect. But it's Evan Achalamish, there's a stone. It's an Evan. We can't go to Kennen this stone and that stone. It's a stone. It means before there was that Sol of Esher Spheres. So Etzem Elokus, he says, in Vasfara even were the Spheres in Etzem Elokus before there was a Spashtas in Spheres in Kalim. So Hoya Spheres Misyachem Ish Ba'ache V'Kulam Yuchadam Atzmos. There was no Metzi. Ve'enam Hu Spheres Chas Hashem. At kan Teichen Bar. Which means the Mashal Punkt is when they get Eben Achalamish. There's no Metzi of fire. They're not even in Adakas Tekev. Metzi of fire is Nishta. It's a Koyach Lahitzi Eish. There's no fire there. Even in a Edel Eifen there's no fire. It's a koyach that if you're going to be market the bars, they'll come and erase them a fire. But erase them. But what's there before you might see the age? There's a stone. Al-Terah was going to get to Ein Sof. Ein Sof, before there was this Havas Spheres, there was no Spheres at all. Ein Sof is Mushal the Gamri from Spheres. And they make to the Marshal from the Even HaChalamish. So so this there's a marshal that's brought in the parties that Ramak brings it Legabi Esas Spheres Agnuzis. The marshal is the Eish the way it is in the Evan before your Meitzi the Eish. So Abdem Zokter in the Maimer says like this. In Esas Spheres Agnuzis, Spheres Shabein Rizal, Al-Tereb is Mufayr, Shehein Esas Spheres da Atik. Mokam Acher Isa Shehein Esas Spheres da Kudim. Bolei B'chinas Asmus there itself. Means the Al-Tereb says that even this type of marshal, Esas Spheres Agnuzis, the parties gives a marshal Esas Spheres Agnuzis Al Derech Eish B'tzorach Halamish. The Al-Tereb says that even that marshal is only Shaykhis and lower Dargis. In Dargis, in Keser, or in Akudim, where there's already a marker for Elam is, there's already a musig of Gevol, of Tzir, but it's still Keser, Means it's the way it's still Meir, the pshittas of Elikus, but it's not the pshittas the way it's Meir in higher dargis. The way it's Meir in lower dargis. So there, Shaykh will say this mashal that there's a Indian of Spheris al derech, the way the Eish is with Tzurach Halamish. But in V'lei b'chinas ha'atzmas de'erin tzaf. The Alter Rebbe says, when the etzem of erin tzaf kamen to Zognas ha'mashal. Ki be'emes ha'nimshal yoseh shaper. Kol kach. I feel if you mashal now. Why? Shebe'evin, what's the mashal? Be'evin ish ha'keach eish v'lei ish mamish. But Saf Kosam Mikomikim, even though there's no Metzias of Eish, it's only a Keich for Eish. So there's no other Metzias outside of the Evan. That's what the Pardes Ares bring. There's no Metzias outside of the Evan, because it's the Evan's Keich for Eish. There's no Metzias of Eish. But Mikomikim are Keich Leish V'Leilamayim. But there's already a potential for fire. There's a Keich Leish V'Leilamayim. Ube'emes in Saf Baruch Olam Kol Idin Midas Iyu Klal. So it's not shaykh to say that this mashal is not shaykh to say in Ein Sof. Only after Tzimtzum, the lower dargis, which is going to be my marchiv later a little bit, Dartin Kemen Zagen Ashtikol he's going to bring later. But upon him, the mashal is the Gavas Prius Agnuzis, the way they are in Etzem of Ein Sof, Kemen Zagen the mashal from Tzurach Halamish. Because the Tzurach Halamish, the Poyel, the Evan, there's no Metzias of fire there. But the Evan it's a Tchuna Pratis in the Evan that it's a for fire, not for something else. Mashikin Ein Sof, Baruch Olam Mikolim Nisi Yuklav. There's already a marker for Elovis. Even this mashal, the Rambam says, is we want to say there that Al Derech is able to get the Tzorach Halamish, the way he's being Mavir here. There's no Metzias of fire. It's that the Evan has a Tchuna. It's all avert in the Evan. Sa'azam is such stain which has the mile of Keich HaEish. There's no Metzias of fire outside of the stone. It's all the Keich of the stone. Al Derech, they say in Elikus, it's not the Pshat, there's Metzias of Spheris, of Chachma v'Chesed. We're saying that the Eibishter is Tachas HaShlemus, because the Eibishter is Tachas HaShlemus, so he has the Keich to be for Spheris. So it's not that there's a Metzias of Chachma. It's that the Eibishter is the Tachas HaShlemus. But Sof Kol Sof, when you say Hu HaYideh Hu HaMado, Yaderech, when you say when you get to the Evan Tzorach Halamish, the Evan is not Mugdar at all. The Evan has a potential for this Keich. Al derech zeh mitzad, when you say Hu HaYideh Hu HaMado, Chachman Bina expressed the Shlemus of Elikus. The Meile Shaykh is to say that there are prat in his Shlemus. So it does doctor. So
what's the problem with the mashal?
Because there's a Keich for Eish, it's a Keich for the Prati.
So the relationship between the Evan and the Eish is close, Kibu?
I'll show you the question close. You want to bring a mashal on the waist, it's a Shaykhis, yeah. It's a Shaykhis to Eish. Means that it's B'shas, it's a Keich for Eish. I mean, the Keich has a certain quality that from there.
It's Keich for Eish is very far apart.
That's not the point. But the point is that you could only say that by a Mahus, which is Mugbal. By a Mahus, which is Mugbal, you could say, so there's no Metzias of Eish. The whole vart of the whole vart of the Nifal is that he has a Keich, that he's a Balkeich, that he has this Tchuna. But the Metzias of the Tachtan as a Metzias doesn't exist there. Masha'ik in the Gabi Spheris doesn't express the Ein Sof at all. It's not, in Yaniv, Ein Sof is not the fact that Mitzad is Ein Sof, he's able to have Chachma and Bina. Ein Sof is Ein Sof, Chachma and Bina are Yaniv Mugvul. It's not shy to say that in Vaz Bashtet, or what are the expressions of Ein Sof is, that from him comes Spheris. Ein Sof, from him doesn't come Spheris. He's Ein Sof, Lav Chol Inim B'Tziyuk Lav. Spheris don't express him at all. So it's not, so the Mashal of Keich, the Gabi, B'Shas, when we're dealing with Ein Sof, there is no makkah for Spheris. Not even of Tzurach Halamish either. Spheris is not an Inyan Legabi. You see, the Rambam brings Hu HaYideh Hu HaMado. Hu HaYideh Hu HaMado is that Das is an Inyan, and because Hu has no Chisarn, or Hu is Tachas HaShlemus, but Meile Hu, he is everything. He's a Yideh, he's Mada. Whatever has a Meile, he has. Or he's that also. But that, so on one hand, there's no Metzias of Das outside of the Shlemus of the Hu. You see Hu HaYideh Hu HaMado. There's no Metzias of fire outside of the fact that there's an Evan which has a Keich Eish. But Sof Kol Sof, because it's a specific Inyan. The Evan is a specific thing and has a specific trait that Shaykh is the fire. Mashing is something which is Ein Sof, the Tzurach Halamish is not a dogma. Ein Sof, there's no Metzias. It's not Shaykh to any Tzir. Lav Mikol Idim B'Tziyuk Lav. So there's no Makkah for Tzir there. Shtakim Metzias there. The Mashal Tzurach Halamish is a mashal for something that is the Shleimus, Mitzad the Shleimus HaMakar is a Makar for an Indian, But the way the Indian is in the Makar, it's all a prat in the Makar. But Ein Sof is lav mekal Indian Midisiv Klal. Ein Sof is Ein Sof. Spheres Chachma v'Chesed don't express Ein Sof. They're none of Gvul. And it's not the pshat that Ein Sof. The Amita say Ein Sof is he's a whole different. That Rebbe says in Tanya. You can't even say Leis Machshat Tfisebe. It's another Indian Ganze. Chachma and Bina and the Spheres are none of Gvul. They're none of Pratim. Ein Sof is a different Indian Legamri. We have Leis Machshat Tfisebe. Yeah, like the Rebbe says, "Eimer Chachma Rama v'Amuka she'ef shel Masha b'Yadayim." The Gabi Seichel is not Mishush is not a Metzias. The Gabi Seichel. It's not.
So Ish would be an expression of the Evan.
It's not. You can say that in a Svara you're going to have plastic and metal. It's al derech keichish. It's hot to sit on b'chlal. Ein Sof lav mikol idim midisiyu klal. Ein Sof tachas Ein Sof. You say something else because it's Ein Sof, so you can't define it by anything. There could be anything. That's not the Mekudei Vesesfira. It just means that there's an Inyan of Chachma. There's 10 Inyanim. We'll see that later in the Hemshech. Esesfira means that there's 10 Inyanim, and through these 10 Inyanim, his Eichos is expressed. Not that there could be anything. That's Ein Sof. But he brings this is interesting as us. The Rebbe Shlomo says here that even though the mashal of Tzorach Halamish is not a good mashal to explain the way Spheres are called in the Makir, but it's a good mashal to explain Era Kol of Atzvus Hamar. That's what he says here. Ach be'emes ach efsher roi leimer mashal zak al ponem birl mashen zbar leil sheish riz b'chinas be'erin sof. Interesting as us. L'fa'amim will call b'mar. The way it's in the Mar, that we said before, Kol B'atzmus Hamar. L'f'amim yered mezgala li yismakar l'makar chulu. This is what he airs. So there was the way the air. Listen to the way he says it. There's the way the air is f'amim. It's interesting to lashon. But there's the way the air is Kol B'mar, and there's the way the air is already a metzias of air. Yered mezgala li yismakar l'makar. Two you find him there. What does it sound like? It's two different. It says l'f'amim will call and l'f'amim, the air we're dealing with one madrega of air. He's yered the mezgal li smakul mak. Dr. Azay. Shebchinas yesi kol b'mayr hu l'mayla mayla b'chinas is gadusay. Falzeh shaper shaykh leimer mashalana. It's a good mashal. She'erek shu kol b'mayr hu miyuched be'etzma mayr. V'leishim husa er mamish nimtza sham. Not the pshat that you have a metzias of gilui, with the properties of gilui, like I said before. Gilui means that it's murgish. In the pashtazin of hergish, erem is pashid. It's not in such a even. How is the air color? We're saying that there's air color there. It says also there's it's not a stone itself. There's eish color bed. But is there a metzias of eish? First of all, there's no eish mamish. Metzias of eish. You can't say there's just fire in a stone. Another thing is, it's not. There's no the tnu of eish which is there is not a davar neisef to the muhusa even. There's only the muhusa even. Al sham rak even levad. Rak sheish bekech even shish v'chveitzim menu eish. V'kech zayne davar chazulas muhusa even. There's no other metzias. So he says like this. Kacha der zeh shleimar in skala se shehu ba'amar. Sheim b'chinas ze k'mei al derech shuk shin mishach begilui lismak l'makal kapanim la'am. Not with the mishach begilui. Pshas is mishach begilui. He said before there's episode tfisas makom ta'ilamis, because the air is murgish in ta'ilamis. So in was paraif in was herzach in the air that atzilus vasiye b'shaveh, that guf is considered a makal l'makal ta'ilamis. He says before. They say atzilus vasiye b'shaveh. That's considered that you're giving some yachas to ilmas. Mitzad etzem, he's called the shemuvlo mitzad atzme. Shulchan Zerek upon avok shekol b'moyer who sham be'ili rav ve'in ketz yeser the air. B'shas the air is called b'moyer who be'ili rav ve'in ketz yeser shem is achad b'moyer. Dort and better ein zach with the moyer. Behind it, k'mei b'mashal anal, but mashal even she'ein sham ish mamish. Akan she'esh b'keichesh yetzim menu ish. Kacha derech mashal matzah b'kedesh chulu yishlem in niskal ser b'moyer she'ein shebchinas er klal ki im hu keach yichei lezu שיש מחוץ ועצמוס יתברך שיור ממנו ער וזיו, שיהיה אין סוף ממש. זה סנטה זכר לי saying. Al like the Evan, so you have that what does it say here? Al there's the keach and the chelis and atzmos that there should be air. Keach and chelis שיש מחוץ ועצמוס יתברך שיור ממנו ער וזיו, שיהיה אין סוף ממש. ויחל זו זה נשמע שכן משנה בלילה. תפירש שמע מבחינת הער, ועד שלא נראה להם הוא ישמע לבד, היינו מבחינת היחל הסנה שביכולתי להער. See the way it teaches. So what is he saying now? What's the words that he's saying now? But I'll is even to get to the Evan. What exists in the Evan before the Tzurach HaLamish? There's a Yechelis for fire. There's a Keach for fire. Al derech zeh, the air the way it's called ba'atzim samar is in a darga where there's no air. There's no pchin of air. Vasi yefaran, it's the what's the air the way it's called ba'atzim samar is the keach v'yechelis, the fact that there's v'yechelis ha'atzmos, that there should be air. The fact that v'yechelis ha'atzmos there should be air, she'yeh ein sof mamish. This yechelis, that's the pchin of air. Yeah, v'yechelis zu zehu nishmei shekedem shin b'eil. Shmei is pchinas air. And actually, the Shmei was Nefen of Levad. It means it wasn't Nefen. There was another Nesim on the who. That the Shmei was Pchinas Eichelis. Should be Cholti Lahir. So the way we understand now, I'm saying from the way yes, the parties brings a marshal like Abis Firis like Mrs. in Sof from the Tzurach HaLamish. There the word is there's an Evan. There's no Metzias of Eish. But he says that it's not a good marshal for the Firis because it's a Keach Eish and not a Keach for anything else. And Ein Sof is Lav Mikal Idim with the Siyuk Klav. So what's he saying here when he says that it's Asi Shaper? Mashik and the Gabi, when he wants to explain Eira Kol Atzu somewhere, he says it's a good mashal. Why is it a good mashal? Because in Atzvos you do have the Yechelis for Eir.
So why go Yechelis? Say Metzias Ma'am.
So we're not dealing with the fact that the Eibush is Kil Yach. We're dealing with the fact that in Atzvos there's the Yechelis for Eir. That's what he's saying. If we're dealing with the fact that Eibush is Kil Yach, so then I don't do the mashal Tzurach HaLamish. He's speaking about the Keach Yechelis Zu. Sheyesh Mechutz V'Asmus L'Sheir Menu Eir. Yechelis Zu Zein Yishmei Shekedem Mishneh B'Eilim. So the shaila is, and we'll have to see what he's going to be mazber in a minute, but the shaila is, if we're dealing with the Atzmas is moved from Eir much more, even from the Yechelis for Eir, much more than Sfiras are moved from Yitzhak. The Gabi Atzmus, the whole musik of Eir, the whole musik of Gili is not Indian. It's nicht Gemeil, it's nicht Geschlemus. The same Atzmus is Shleis Kol Teirem. He's moved from any type of Teir, any type of Indian. It was a shot that to say the Gabi Ein Sof that be cholti to have spheres as Kemen Zog. He says before, because can't say the Mashal Tzurach HaLamish because Keach Ha'esh v'lei Keach L'mayim. Mashiach Ein Sof is Lav Me'elim Yidei Siyukla. And to say the Gabi Atzmus that he's that there's is be cholti to have an Indian prati. That's for sure you can say. Even more than you can't say the Gabi Tzir the Gabi Ein Sof, the Gabi the Eir Ein Sof. You can't say Eir the Gabi Etzem. Then it's not a Kudav Yechelis, then it's Tam, then it's Kol Yachal, then it could be anything. That's not the Marshal Tzurach HaLamish. Then anything could be. That's something else. It's not a marker for Eir. Anything could be. The Eibush is Kol Yachal. The Eibush is not Mugdar and anything. That's something else. It's not, he's saying Keach Yechelis Zu, Sheyesh Mechutz V'Asmus V'Ar Shiur Menu Eir V'Ziv. This, the Eir the way is called in this China. Yechelis Zu Sheyesh Mechutz V'Asmus V'Ar Shiur Menu. There's a Yechel, especially Yechelis and Atzmos Shiur Menu Eir V'Ziv. Atzmos Shleis Kol Teirem. But even there's a marker for the Indian of Eir.
It's not talking about the Eir HaKol.
I understand it's talking about Eir. I'm saying, what's the pshat Keach Yechelis Zu Sheyesh Mechutz V'Asmus? He says like, to say the Mashal Tzurach HaLamish you can't say because Ein Sof is mushit from Tzir. So how could you say like Gabi Eir and Atzmos? In Atzmos there's the Keach V'Yechelis for Eir. For sure you can't say that. I'm saying when you say this is nothing to do with this, but I'm saying when you say the musik of Yechelis. Right? The difference between Keach and Yechelis. This is a bewusste Zach. And you say Keach is out there. You say that there's the garden of a tree. So the tree, you have the full tree the way it's already the way it grew. You have Ilanis and Afim and Peris. You have the whole thing. And the garden is the mucker for the whole mitzvahs. That's the Sheirish. It begins with the nekudas hagarden, and then it's goes through a whole gidul with smicha, and it grows into a whole. That's keach. So keach means you have the inyan the way it is in a edelayifen, the way it's in the makar, the nekudas inyan. The nekudah means you have the inyan the way it's not mugbal natzir prati yet. The inyan the way it is in its purest form, the sheirish inyan, and then you have the way it's actualized, the way it's materialized, natzir prati. So you say there's the nefesh, there's the makar for the keich haseichel. Yichel is something else. Yichel is not that there's a makar for the inyan. There's no makar for the inyan. You say something else. The reason why this thing could be is because the elin is not mugdar. Since the elin you can't define it, so therefore there could be. You can't say that he's limited from having that inyan. Yachal doesn't mean that there's a source for this. You say a lashon. You say about in lashon ha'ilam. You say about someone that are yachalt. Not that he has you say someone he knows how to take care of things. He gets things under control. Not that he has a kayach for this. Someone has the keys to this place. He has the keys to something else. Someone yachalt. He knows how to manage. So you're not when you use the word yachal, you're not speaking about a kayach prati that someone has. That someone is able to do this. He has the source for this specific act. You're saying that this makir, this etzem, is not defined. He's in control. It's a part on the makir. It's not that he has a kayach for something. You see what Yechelis doesn't mean that there's a makir for there's a makir for gili. Yechelis means that because the makir is not mugder, because you can't define him by anything, so you can't say that he's lacking something because he's undefinable. You can't limit him. That's Yechelis. But even that, so the Eibush has kol yachol. You can't define him in anything. That's not a makir for the Rosh was saying something else. He's saying over here the mashal of tzarech halamish is a good mashal gabe ela kol ba'atzim samar. Why? Why is it a good mashal? Is there any is gili an inyan legabe atzmos? Gili is no inyan at all. Sh'lo eskol terim. Even more than tzir is mushal from itself. The same way a table in itself. What's the connection between a table expresses itself? A table is not a mitzvah legabe itself. Gili has nothing to do with atzmos. What's that Satan? The musik of gili or is galus. All these terms are all terms that were created. Be'etzim is garnish stuff. Be'etzim is only the Eibush himself. There's no mitzvah of gili of his galus. So what does he mean over here? So he's not speaking of the fact that the Eibush is kol yachol. Kol yachol is a different story. It's not a makar for He's saying here that there's a mashal. He brings a mashal of tzarech halamish. The mashal of tzarech halamish is we find that we have eish. You have eish the way it is in the mitzvah of eish. You have eish the way it's miyuchad with the evan. That there's an evan that has itself the koyach eish. You have a stone. You have a stone that this is a stone. There's no fire there, but the stone is b'koyach let's say eish. So the koyach eish, the way it's the stone is miyuchad with the stone himself. There's no other mitzvahs outside of the stone. And you can't say before. I don't know exactly how these things work, but there's no mitzvahs of eish. It's a koyach in the stone, so it's miyuchad with the evan himself. But how could they say that mashal agabe is sfiris? You can't say in itself, even in the most edel eifin. In itself, it doesn't do with sfiris. Not even a way of. But say era kol atzmar does come in yazam. There's no mitzias of there's no gather of gili, no mitzias of gili like it says before. But was bashte the way it's called atzmar samar is the fact that yesh b'mhutzi b'asmusi the keich v'yechelis shiur menu erviziv. So in muhus v'asmus alakus, there's the yechelis shiur menu er. So the shaila is if we're dealing with a yechelis, which relates, which is expressed in air, that's not atzmos. That's a lower darga. I'm saying is when you speak about yechelis, there's dargis in yechelis. What I mean dargis is when you say that something you say that brings us in the mind of a cholam rayim, but you say that something. A makar is able. There's two ways of being kailat itself. One ifin is because your inyan, you have the makar for that inyan. The nefesh, the fact that seichel comes from the nefesh is because there's keich is aklula ma nefesh. Means the nefesh contains within itself the makar for seichel. Then another thing, there's because the nefesh is not mugder, you can't define it. Not that there's this inyan that the nefesh is that this inyan begins from the nefesh. Since you can't define the nefesh, it's unlimited. The mela there could anything could be expressed from it. You have the same mashal, the case of a garden that comes the tree that grows in the garden. So there the garden is a makar for the tree. You have the Kudus Hadavar, the way the Indian starts, Bas Choloseh. That's the guy. That's the, and then you have the marshal, the fact that you could a person could show his face in water. Any face is going to be shown in the water is going to reflect. Any tzura that's going to be shown in the water is going to reflect that tzura. So what's the pshat? The fact that the water is reflecting this person's face, Reuven's face, is because there's a marker for Reuven's face in the water. Before Reuven came, there's you have in the water some marker dak that Reuven's face should be able to see there. And when he puts his face there, so he reveals that potential that's there. The water is no shaykhas b'chtani tzir. So how could he? Since the water has no distinct tzir, so any image that's going to be across it's going to be towards the water is going to reflect. Since the water has no shaykhas to any specific tzir, it's a different way of being a makar. Not that you're a makar because you relate to that tetzah. Because you're not defined in any distinct, specific way, so one of the expressions of something which is undefined is that therefore anything could be reflected on it. So that's a different way of being a makar. Inside the shittis, there could be anything. Not because it's the mohos ha'elyon is shaykhas to this tetzah. He's a makar for that tetzah. Because the elyon is not mugdar. Since he's not defined, therefore he could have any color could be reflected on it. Any image could be reflected on it. Not that there's a makar in the water for this image and for that image. So the shaila is if you have a makar which is b'derech shaykhis in a regular way, so we understand that an only way to have a makar is if the elyon has a shaykhis to this inyan. But if the makar is mufshit from it, best in the shaman there's that. Ash'inkin the fact that you have that there's all these different images is because the makar is mufshit. So the gven asvara, so then there's no agbalas at all. You see the same thing. You say the gabi water. That water, since water has no, doesn't have a distinct color. Any image could be reflected on the water. You say the same mashal gabi seichel. The midis, someone that's sveis bekava chesed. So midis, or you're in a tnu of kirov, or you're a tnu of richov. It's not shaykh to have both tnuos. You're in a tnu of kirov to the mekabel, or you're a tnu of richov to the mekabel. Mashik and seichel, you're not in any tnu. You're not in a tnu of kirov to the mekabel. You're not in a tnu of richov. You're thinking about the Indian objectively. So since seichel is not any tnuos, therefore the same svara could be mechayev and could from the same svara could result sai chesed and sai gvura. So Yetzel Levi Adam Ram and Or. It's one svara. Yetzel Levi Adam Ram and Or. Therefore, what are we going to do? There's no reason to have him. Or since Ram and Or, we're not going to. There's no reason to punish him. The svara is an objective svara. It's not chiyuv, and it's not kiruv, and it's not richuv. It's the objective idea itself. This idea, since the idea is not in a distinct form, it's not that there's a mucker for chesed and a mucker for gvura in the svara. The svara is an idea. Nothing to do with should we be nice to him or should we not be nice to him. We're not speaking about his fault yet. We're speaking about the notion itself. Which has nothing to do now with chesed and with gvura. Because since the idea itself is not tied to any of these forms of chesed and gvura, therefore one of the expressions of the pshittus of seichel is that from this svara it could be saya svara l'din, saya svara l'schus. The same svara. Kiruv, when a person is in a tune of kiruv can't be a sibul l'din. Or richuk can't be a sibul l'kiruv. Mashik in this svara could be saya sibul l'din, saya sibul l'schus. Because the svara itself is not connected to any of these. It's an objective idea. As I state. So the shaila is since if the fact that seichel was a mocker for kiruv and richuk was because there's a the nekudas hashodesh of chesed and gvura. Hemshech and seichel, so we understand that only chesed and gvura can come from seichel, nothing else. Because seichel is a shaykhs chesed and gvura. But if the fact that seichel is a makkah for kiruv and richuk is because seichel is not defined by midas, and since seichel has no tzir, aderech is even to get to mayim. That since the mayim have no color, therefore any face that's towards what could reflect itself. So why not? You get out from the svara, since the svara is not defined by chesed. The same way you say the svara is not defined by chesed gvura. It's an objective idea. Can say kiruv and say richuk. So there should be say red and say yellow. Should be colors also. Colors kupshute. Why don't you say that? Anyway, it's mitzad pshitis. It's not the pshat that the fact that seichel has chesed gvura is because there's the sheirish achsadim in seichel. There's no sheirish achsadim in seichel. Seichel is the objective idea itself. The way it's mufshit from kiruv and richuk. And because there's no distinct form, therefore, mekanis avtach and vimivil. So the answer is a very posh answer, even though the fact that seichel is able to be a svar lechiv and a svar lidin because the seichel is not mugv in a specific kav. But even when you say that something is the reason why it could express itself in different ways because it's not limited, but it's not. the inyanim have to be inyanim which are considered a reality legabi him. Because it's unlimited, so he could be in any way. He could be in any reality. Legabi water, colors is something. Colors are mitzias. If you have a distinct color, so you have shaykhs a specific color. Since he is not defined in colors, so you can express that he could have any color. Any image could be reflected towards him. But they're both a mitzias. The musig of water is a gashim is a good thing. Color is a gashim is a good thing. So since water is not a defined creature, any gavon could be reflected on water. But ruchnis doesn't exist like water. The whole idea doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, pshit is not, your pshit is within your realm. You're not pshit is within a realm that doesn't exist like you. Pshit is doesn't mean that because you're not defined, therefore, things which don't exist will exist. When you say that Yechelis, when you say the musik of Yechelis, so you say the Eibush is unlimited. But if it's unlimited, the Kol Yochel, the way it is in Atzmos, that Kol Yochel has Eir is not an Inyan the Gabi. The musik of Eir is not an Inyan. The Eibush could do anything, something else. Kol Yochel can out sein. When he say that, he's not speaking about the musik of Kol. He's saying that there's a Yechelis for Eir. So if he says there's Yechelis Zu, what does it say here? So he's speaking about the Yechelis, which relates to the idea of Eir. That means that that's already not an Inyan b'muhusiv atzmusir. If the Pashtas, the Havana Pshuta, the way he's saying it here, it's not the Pshat that the Eibush is not mugdir, can out sein. We're saying that there is that aspect in the Lakus that, as a result of the fact that it's not mugdir, there could be gilui. So you could only say in a madrega where gilui is an Inyan. There's a musig of gilui. There's an Inyan to be nizgala. You say, and he contains it because he's unlimited. That's already after the tzimtzum. In Atzmos, gilui is ken Inyan nicht. So it's not to say this is a chelis which is misyachat the Inyan of gilui. There's kol yachol, something else. Since the Eibush is not limited at all, can out sein. By a nivra or by a davar mugbul, you can't say kol yachol. So yechelis only relates to dvarim prati. Yechelis only relates to things. What are they? Who's coming?
Girls.
So you have to arrange the room.
Usually it's 8 tonight.
Every night they come here.
No.
Akapanim. So you understand what I'm saying? When by a davar mugbal, when you say something could since he's not mugdar, but mele there could be a certain tetzah. The tetzah has to be a reality like abiyat. If the whole content doesn't exist, you can't say misad the pshittis of seichel. There's going to be red and white. Red and white are seichels of svarim. So ideas, a concept that exists in Eilam HaSeichel. The musik of midas, a regesh, exists in Eilam HaSeichel. Because it's not defined in a certain kav, can zayin sai chesed and sai gvur. Red doesn't exist in seichel. So even with tzad pshittis, because seichel is not mugder, therefore there could be red and yellow. Red and yellow don't exist. Seichels are defined thing. And Asmus is say that he's kil yochel. Why is he kil yochel? Because Asmus is not mugder at all. That's something else. But when you speak about the yechelis for you're saying that you're talking about already that the was bashteit the fact that he's not mugder, that because he's not mugder there could be gilui. So that could only be said in a darga where gilui is in Inyan. There's something in a mode of etzem, there's something in a mode of gilui. Being this gal is an Inyan, you say that he contains gilui because he's not mugder. But that's already a yirida from Atzmus. Like when you speak about the b'mhusiv atzmus, the whole musik of gilui is not in Inyan. Is that kol yochel something else? The Eibush says you say something legabi atzmos, even if he doesn't relate to it at all, even something which doesn't exist legabi him, so to speak, could be because he's kol yochel. That's something else. You don't say about pshit kol yochel. Kol yochel is in atzmos. You say that he's nice to hakol because legabi atzmos you can't say shtulas agvul, shtulas agbigvos, abezundir zach. But I'm saying if you're speaking about a yechelis for a davar prati, you're speaking about pshittis in a certain seer already. You're not speaking about shtulas kol teir. You're saying that with what is expressed, his pshit is that he's not that Eber Villi could have air. That means that if air is nothing, so in vas bashteiz and pshit he could have air. He's speaking about a yecheles which relates to the musik of gilui. So that's the chore not in atzmos mamish. That's where you read it. You understand what I'm saying? So let's see what he says. It says ve'ininu.
explain what level this is? Where this kach is to? How is this kach possible?
He's going to
The question is
explain. Yeah, it doesn't. Let's see what he says. He says, "Ve'inin the nibchinas erek meshu bchinas is galus ugam kedi nibchinas shmo." Nichla gam kemash kaslashin re'elam yishme hoyishme. Means gili is always shmai, because what's gili? Gili is what we're saying. The gili is shmai. Gili is not an additional mitzvah. Gili is the makker's bligvul. Yeah, that's the whole nekudah of er legabe shefa. The whole nekudah of er legabe shefa is that it's not the gili is not a mahus davar. Shefa is a mahus davar from the mashpia. Mashikin er is this galus amar. It's always b'chinas shmai. The dugmas like you say when you get to shame. It's not another mitzvah. It's the person being nifna. Al deraz when you get to er. Er is not the etzim the way the etzim is misamtzin. It's not like you say when you get the shefa that it's the aspect of the makkah which relates to gili. If it calls the makkah is not mukbal, he could also be, he's misgali, he's mispashit. So it's shmai. So that's cholas habriya, the musik of makim. There's the Indian of mitzias. That's the sheresh of midas adin from tzimtzum. It's gal the sheresh adin and menas makim. The musik this is makim to mitzias that started from tzimtzum. How much kasu sham seif and gimel doesn't go. Va'ach leni v'rei lo mahinu lifnat tzimtzum ahiu shmecho. Oh no, hefresh ukmish's brother b'shemashlo. B'chinas is galus sham b'chinas ata ech v'shimchech. There's two b'chinas. There's the ata, the achtas, the way it is in etzem, and there's the achtas, the way it is in er. We said before, because the er is already the way the in is mizgalit. Kumeish kol b'mar sham hu shmei. He is shmei and shmei is hu. It's ein hu. Hu b'chinas hakech v'yechedes sheba'atzma shebichot eloher. Zeu adin hu shmei levad, zeu adin hu shmei echad. Hainu b'chinas ha'erk shekol b'mar. See this lashon, hu shmei shmei hu. Yeah, so this is where, as I was saying last time, that so the emes is that you see in the mata we have a musik of the mata of Indian of air. Where does the fact that a makkah is able to be mispashit, where does that come from? Because you have a makkah which is a moir. You have shefa, or you have a regular even of ashpa. The makkah is mukbal in his daladamis, and in order for him to come to the mekabel, he has to be misamtzim to come to the mekabel. That's when you get the shefa. Mashikin eid is a makkah which is not limited. Since he's not limited, his Indian is also mispashit. The shemesh, let's say, doesn't have the Indian of behirus in a limited way. He has Indian of behirus in an unlimited way. How is it expressed the fact that he has an unlimited way? That the behirus is not only contained within the sun itself, it automatically it emanates outside of the sun. The fact that something automatically emanates, how do you say emanates? That's a tnua that the Indian, the way it is by the shemesh, is not in a mukbaldik way. That's the nekudah. So this shleimus, this is this shleimus that a makar has, that it could be Meir in a way of air, is called a moir. He's a moir. Means the shemesh has this gula, has this tchuna that is Indian, that he's not limited. He doesn't have his eichus in a limited way. He has it in an unlimited way. And one of the expressions is that it's mispasha. You see, Atzmus is kol yachol, but Atzmus for sure has the Indian of moir too. Not only that there could be earth. When you say kol yachol, doesn't only mean that inside the etzem there could be everything. There could be earth. It means since Atzma Shila is called Ta'irin, so the etzem also has the Indian of Mar. The same way we find Lamata. Different Efanim, the way a dover comes from a makar, which comes from different Efanim in a makar. You have a makar which is an Efan of Mar. You have a makar which is a different Efan. All the milas of which exist in a makar, all those milas stem from the Eibishter. So the Eibishter has this Indian that he could be a Mar. Not that he could be, that he's a Mar. And what we're saying here is that when you speak about the Mar Lamata, so the and the Mar are two separate things. You can never say who Shmei Shmei who. The and the Mar are two separate things. Because the Moir is the Indian the way it is be'etzim. You have the etzim the way the Indian is be'etzim. Moir is that the idea of Moir is that he's also able to be mispashit. He can also be mispashtus. Mashaykin l'mayla, the Indian of Moir exists there in the Shlemas the Kaway. So Bibal the etzim is also a Moir. Atzma is also a Moir. And the Moir, the way it is in Atzma is b'tachas Shlemas. What's the Nukud of Moir? That he doesn't have his Indian in a limited way. He has his Indian without a limited way. So you say the Gabi Atzma the Peshat. He doesn't that the etzim is not mugbal. So merely he doesn't have to, in order for it to be he doesn't have to be mispashit. Mitzad the etzim is also. I was saying this last time. That's the real touches here. The word of hu shmei hu. In other words,
Mashal bring it out. This of the Tzur Chalamish. It sounds like the out of
how
the
does
two
Mashal
levels.
bring it out?
Out of the two levels of Yechidas that you said, it sounds like the lower one. No, where it is mitzias more than in the water.
There's a mitzias. We're saying that everything else, the Eibush is kol yachol. That's nothing to do with this Indian prati. Eibush is kol yachol. It could be anything. Here we're saying we're not doing with kol yachol. Let's say he's kol yachol. Therefore, he's also a mar. The Eibush is also a mar. Mitzad the fact that what type of mar is not supposed? That's the question. What type of when you say that there's the Indian of there's the Hachodesh lahar, which that's the Nukud of mar. He's yachol lahar. The Mar Lamata, you can't truly say that he's Yachal Lahar. The Mar Lamata, the Etzim Mitzad Atzmei is Mufshet from Meir. The Etzim himself, there's no Yachal, he can't be Meir. The Indian, the way it is in an Atzmistic way, that is Mugdar. He's in a way of Etzim. He could also be Mispashit. There could also be Mispashit. Mashayk L'mayla, the fact that the Eibusher is a Mar is in the ultimate way of being a Mar. That he could take it be Mispashit. Be Yachal Tei Lahar.
Why can't it be here?
Because here we have two modes of being. There's an etzim, which is nimtza and edel reifen, and then there is gile, which is being in a murgish dekayif. See, because he's not limited, he's not only in this mode, he's also in that mode. But that mode is not in that mode. When he's in a way of etzim, he's not in a way of espashtus. Mashayk and Asmas were saying that biyachol te'lahayr. Who's biyachol te'lahayr? When we say biyachol te, who's biyachol te'lahayr? Not biyachol that should be air. Biyachol that he should be that from him there should be air too. So when you say biyachol lahar, that he has to create an air, or the etzim chadchil is not mugbal. When you say in atzmos that biyachol lahar, atzmos is biyachol lahar. This biyachol lahar is biyachol he's in a way of etzim, and biyachol there should be mispashet from him air, or he's not mugdar. So when you have him without, you don't need a spashtus. Mitzad him itself, there could be a tnu of air. Means you don't. That's a different Indian. So you don't need. It's not a gather of air of his spashtus versus etzim. The etzim el is not mukbal. The whole tay of the etzim lahar. That's a type of air versus that's a different Indian answer. Means even before you have the gather of gile and spashtus, we're thinking about atzmus is shlilas kol atay. There you have the Indian of air because you chol tay lahar, not because you have a tzir of air. You understand what I'm saying? When you speak air, the way we know it is the Indian is in a tnu of espashtus. But where do you have the musik of tnu? Of course, you have to have a tnu of espashtus. There's a tnu of etzim. There's an Indian being in a way of built mitzvahs, in a way of etzim. There's an Indian being in a way of morgish. That's in Ephraim. In Atzmos, you say that since Yishlas Kol HaTayrim, and this Atzmos Yishlas Kol HaTayrim higher the whole gathering, higher than yeah and higher than not also. It's higher than the whole musik of mitzvahs. And he is B'chol Telohar. Atzmos is B'chol Telohar. So Mitzad Yichol Telohar, what's the Pshat Yichol Telohar? That if his Indian can also be B'espashtus, or L'chatchil is not Mugbal. That type of air is miyuchad mamish ba'atzmus. The fact that the Eibusher is not mugbal, air is the spashus of the Eli. The fact that the mocker is not mugbal. So when you say that, that's the from wann it stammt the musik of air. Where does the fact that you have a mocker which is a spashus of the air? Where does that come from? That's never from the fact that the mocker has a certain snu of bleak vol. So you have this. The Milas Amar and Atzmus, that the Eibusher is not Mugbal, and therefore it can be mispashed. But there you say that the Cholte of the Etzim to be mispashed. Means the Etzim is not limited to be in a certain mode. So the Cholte is mispashed. It doesn't have to be in the property of Espashtus. It's not Indian. It's Hu, Shmei, Shmei, Hu. That Hu is also Shmei. And that Shema is who?
אני אסבור את השורה הזאת, כן?
It's like this lashon. What's the pshat? Is a keach v'yecheles sheba'atzmos shebicholte laher. We say keach v'yecheles shebicholte laher. So, er means a spashtus. Means the etzem etzadatzim is not a spashtus, and there could also be a spashtus. In order for there to be a spashtus, he has to go create a spashtus. Or the etzem to begin with doesn't have any form of how there is. So the keach v'yecheles laher, mitzad him, he doesn't have to create er. Mitzad him, it could be an eifin of er too. It could be an eifin of gilui also.
It's the higher or lower level Yechidas?
Huh?
This is the higher or lower level Yechidas?
I don't know what do you mean higher or lower?
So when you talked about before that this Yechidas Zu Sheish Matzah.
No, see that's what he means there. He's not trying to speak about Kil Yachol. We're talking about Muhusi Vatzmusei. We're saying the Chelis Lahoyer, the way it is Muhusi Vatzmusei, there the Er is Hu Shmei Shmei Hu. That's what we're saying.
So what's the motion for? Motion works for what?
What's the mashal?
It sounds like
That
Gilui
there's no
continues
Metzias of
like
Eish.
the
Mashal, there's two pratim. There's no Metzias of Eish. Means it's the Inyan without having the property of the Inyan. You have the Kechesh, you have no Metzias of Eish. Not even a remnant's required. It's not even a regular way of a makar that you have the aschala of the heat.
It's not
It's not
water.
a chelis of Eish. But what I'm saying is there's no Metzias of Eish. That's what I'm
It's not
saying.
water. We say that, but there's still
It's a Kechleish. Good.
Metzius in some sense. No?
Say that, but that's not the Madik Shavir. The Madik Shavir is that there's no Metzias of air. In the air, the way it's called Atzamar, where there's no gather of Gilui versus Etzem. It's not a property of Gilui. If it would be a Metzias of Ispashtus, then it's not Etzem, it's Ispashtus. It's a Davar Mugdar. If it's a Davar Mugdar, so then it's Ispashtus versus Etzem. We're saying that it's a Ispashtus which is not a Tnu outside of Etzem. It's the same Etzem. It's this Mahus. But he's not Mugdar, it's different Indian.
Makes it a schwache spashtus?
Why is it Shvacher Ispashtus?
Fair.
Rahavnish Kinsir, and I'm saying he's saying that
The Evan, you're saying the Asian Evan is schwache.
what he wants to bring out is that there's no Metzias of Er michutz la'etzem. So there ain't etzem, and this etzem is also Er. Because he's a yochel. You can't be magder. That's what he wants to say. This etzem is not mugder. It's not that he's also Er, he's also Er. Yeah, we still didn't look at there he touches this. This is what he touches there. That's the thing that's on Sefer Echem. He touches it. Ch'stakanoko, I forgot to bring this here, but it's in Erlin Sav Beis. Okay. Erlin Sav Beis.
Having the way it's relationship to the Aish is the same way the Aish and
There's no Metzias of Eish.
Pashtus and that.
There's no Metzias of Eish. There's no Metzias of Eish. And there's no Davar Neisam on the Evan itself. You have only the stone. And this stone is also how it's a mashal for us. What's the? Not sure what's the mashal. I'm saying I'm not sure what the mashal is.
Also, who Shmei Shmei who is the same word that Keach Yechidas Zu,
Yeah. It's just,
which is not the Davar of Chabatz.
yeah. What time is it now?
That's not the word of Chabatz.
No, he says that's of course not the word of Koyachal. He says here
Is not
Koyachal is not a mucker for air. He wants to say that there's air the way it's called Batzmus Amar Mamish. So, however way we understand it, he says here that there is Keach Yechidas Zu sheyesh from Husi Batzmus as well Shiur Menu Air V'ziv She'ein Sof Mamish. So then it's not to do with Yechelis. It's not a Yechelis for air. It's Yechelis for anything. What's the Yechelis for air? Not also for air. Kol Yochel is not Messiah that it's in you. Kol Yochel, it could be anything, something else. He's not saying it could be anything. Yechelis zu sheyar menu air. It's a Yechelis for air. That's what we're speaking of air. But he's not speaking about Kol Yochel is not a Yechelis for this. Kol Yochel is that canals is Nesa Hakol. He's not speaking about Nesa Hakol. He's saying Yechelis zu sheyesh v'zeh sheyar menu air v'ziv. Yechelis zu, that's Shmei.
Is this one?
That's what he says here.
Which is seemingly
The fact that Atzmos is B'Yecholti L'Hayr means that Atzmos and the Yechelis L'Hayr and Atzmos is an Eifin that B'Yecholti L'Hayr. Not B'Shemesh you don't say that B'Yecholti L'Hayr. B'Yecholti that there should be something that creates something. But the Etzem itself is Mugdar to be an Etzem. The Etzem is not is in a certain mode. B'Yecholti L'Hayr is that he's not in a specific mode. That's what we're saying. B'Yecholti L'Hayr. The fact that Asmus is not in a specific mode of being, and that Baby could be Gili too. We're speaking about air. We're speaking about his Galus Hamakar. The Musik, how is the Musik of his Galus Hamakar Legabe Asmus is in the ultimate way because he's B'Yecholti L'Hayr. He's not defined to be in a specific mode of being. So. Okay, mit Zemer praten wir then. It goes back to it again in the Bezei Yuvan. What's it related? Let me send a bisschen weiter. Bin ich Schlemmer. Let me get a bisschen weiter. Bin ich Schlemmer, bis wir von der Kemeshu bis Galus. Besides for the air, the way it's called Asan Samar Mamish, there's two madrigas in the air. The way it pushed is Galus air. Vat beginnen cirk mis called Bamar. Hini apart is being in this for second experience of Mamish canal that there's SS Sphiris and Era in Sof Mamish. Kakos have been as always the Russian Meshach Sphiris bear in Sof. Because we be Shishmei Moloch is a maskal of our in Tiluk Ksavya der Rabzal. So dort steht the Ba'atzmos in Shaykh Sphiris. Aber Ba'er Shaykh Sphiris. Ela Shleish Mispul Sphiris. Al Rebbe says in Atzmos which is Shlilas Kol HaTeirim, is in Mugdaring, was not Shaykh altogether of Sphiris, higher than Gilui. A Sheikh in Eir, which is already in of Gilui, there is Shaykh Sphiris. Ela Shleish Mispul Sphiris. So remember, what's the Rekud of Eir is this Galus Ein Sof. This Galus of the Pshitas of Elikus. This Galus Ein Sof. So the Chodik going to say, if we're dealing with this Galus Ein Sof, in Shtak and Sphiris. What did the Rebbe Shav say before the member? Shav say Herzach Ein Sof, what's Herzach? Let's tell us Bashva. Who fought the Ein Sphiris? Sphiris is Chacham, Chesed, this Indian, that Kaya, this Kaya. Who kommt the Sphiris in Eidin Sof? Eidin Sof is his galus of the Pshitas of the Eibishter. The Ein Sof Velikus. So mitzad Ein Sof Velikus is Etzil's Vasiyah B'Shaveh. And there's no mitzvahs. That Eibishter is Be'en Aricht. Everything's Be'en Arichten. How is that a marker for Sphiris? So them sagt Alter Rebbe in Ksav Yad Rabzal that even though there's no shaykh a limited amount of Sphiris, but in a even of Leish Mispul Sphiris, mitzad Eir there could be Leish Mispul Sphiris. Yeah, that's the is always mevayer that Leish Mispul Sphiris haste that it's the Nkud of Eid is this Galus Ein Sof Elikus. There's two ways that the Ein Sof is in Gala. One Eifin is like I said before in Arichtlecha that everything is Shalei Be'Aricht and everything is Tzil Zasiyah B'Shaveh. Le'id there's another way Pshitis is in Gala. Tachlas Haribu. Mitzad the fact that is undefined, this Tachlas Pshitis can all sein. So there could be Bligvul Sphiris, Ein Sof Sphiris, Lo Yesh Mispul Sphiris. How is Ein Sof expressed? How is Ein Sof his galus? One Eifin is that it's nirgash that everything's be'en arech, like it brings before the kedusha sa'atzmus. It's nirgash that it's also vasiyah b'shaveh. Another way is not that since he's Ein Sof, everything's batal. Since the Eivish is Ein Sof and just pshitis, can all sein. There can be anything. Lo yesh mispul l'sfiris. It can be chacham and chesed and bligvul more. Ribui. One of the expressions of pshitis is a ribui bligvul. So it's not mugdar, it's an expression of shittas. It's not because Chacham is an Indian. Because he's not limited, there could be anything. from Achdus Pshuta, there's two ways that Achdus Pshuta expresses itself. That there's no Metzias, and if there is Metzias, there's no limit to how much so Vifel can sein. Because he's Ein Sof and he's unlimited, it can sein Alts. Not Alts in a limited way. It could be Blik Vol. That's Leish Mitzvah L'Sfiras.
What does it mean? What does it look like?
This brings the mashal always of the Butzina, of the torch. That's mispashel the whole star v'ibur, but when you look inside, you see that it's only one fire. Means the Nakuda is, if when something's mispashet beribi built to mugbal, so it's nirgash in the spashas that it's not because this is an Indian. Every single prat is nirgash. It's not about this. It's because there's a marker which is undefined. Today the bria is not an ifin of leish mitzvah l'sfiris. The fact that this exists is because this is an Indian. So that's not mitzad leish mitzvah l'sfiris. That's mitzad you're a marker for this. You have seichel mitzad ke'chayad. So you're throwing something, whatever it is. It's not that since you can't define the marker, therefore there could be anything. Whatever you want could come from it. No, the marker has a certain hagdara, and only things that suit the marker stem from the marker. Leish mitzvah l'sfiris is because the Eibishter is Ein Sof. When there's the Gilead Ein Sof. So what's happens mitzad Gilead Ein Sof? So Al Tereva says, Gilead Ein Sof atzilus asir b'shavat. Al Tereva says in Ksavia der Abzal, mitzad Gilead Ein Sof could be neshave spheres blikvol spheres. A ribu inyan. And not a ribu blikvol. That always brings the Mittler Rebbe's Meirech that you have two efanim in how Ein Sof, how blikvol is misgal. Blikvol and therefore all gvol is bottle, or therefore you have blikvol inyan. Since he's not mukbal, so therefore he can be expressed through anything. In a ifin of ribi, in a ifin of hedag, leish mitzvah l'sfiras. He's not ma'arich in this over here. He goes right away to something else. But here he says something else. He goes right away. So he meant the Rebbe mentions the way he says in Kesav Yad Rabzal that an air the spheres beleish mispel the spheres. But leidach the part that sagt that this esses is like nuzes be'erin stuff mamish. How did he start off? But part of state that this esses spheres in air. Kakov Rabbeinu Zabei Zedrushim. So in Kesav Yad Rab state there's no esser. There's blikvol spheres, leish mispel spheres. But he says here, but be'etzim das was state in pardes that this esser spheres is more makamacher that so da is in von esser. The image because Hashem says the spheres has Shalom klal. In a kavan Hashem spheres klal. Shem kon because kilu nemer mach shmar shevein sof. The kavan literally in spheres vein sof. Avgam because part commercial machalom shkanal and then commissions. The peli does say musik of spheres, but an ifin of shemes. He's going to bring later. He brings a new mashal when they get the esser spheres. It's the musik of the mashal of shemes, and he says that guf is only shaykhs after Ali Sarat. Shemis. It brings there's a musik of Esser, but Esser the mashal is the mashal which is going to be mutzdik to say it on Esser Spheres the way it's in Ein Sof is not the mashal of Tzurach Halamish, but the mashal of Shemis, and even the mashal of Shemis is only works la'achrei Alei Saras. We'll see later. Okay, when it's done, it's done.
More or less, that's not even shy from Mashal Shemus.
Yeah.
But it's shy from Limas.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see this. Yeah. So Lash. The area ain't soft. Mitzad Atzmi, the area ain't soft. Mitzad Alei Saratz, and there's some other pursuits. We'll see.
In time,
Meretach, Spashas and Gilead, Meretach.